Hi, my name is Emily Gaffney. I'm making a presentation for the leadership course. This basically will be about what I've learned about myself through the leadership this semester, and I have little notes so I don't forget where I am. And so yeah, thank you for watching. Here goes. So the first thing that I want to talk about that I learned about myself, I noticed was how I make goals and how I go about setting things up for myself when I try and achieve something. So basically, what I learned was that perfectionism is not always something that helps when you're trying to make goals because, well, here's a story. I I we had to come up with, in this discussion, a goal that we had made and failed at. So I was thinking about it, and it was sort of hard to come up with, but eventually I touched on, this time I was so set on the fact that I wanted to press up into a handstand, and at this point I was still struggling to kick up into handstands and keep it there. So chances are I was not going to learn this in one day, but I was determined to do it. So I played this 10-minute video, over and over again, and kept trying, and it became pretty obvious after about half an hour that it was not going to happen today, and I needed to give myself time to do this. But having the perfectionist tendencies that I do, I didn't give myself room to fail, because failing is oftentimes quite a scary thing. So allowing myself room to fail would have been so much more beneficial for my confidence. After I had, realized that I wasn't going to be able to do this today, I was quite disappointed. It was quite a hit to my self-esteem. I was, disappointed in myself, and it's kind of a scary thing. So, what I realized was that I had the wrong attitude going into it. And this kind of leads into my second point here, because, the balance that you need to find between, ambition and realism is sometimes quite difficult to distinguish, and it requires that you aren't afraid to fail, that you can take into account the fact that you might not be able to do certain things. So I realized that when I was trying to figure out something I'd failed at, that I was struggling to find a story. And this was because I don't usually try things that have the option for failure, because that's the scary thing. So that was, I think that was the big aha moment for me, that I have to be willing to fail and allow myself room for failure when setting goals, so that I can try and try again and not have to take that fatal hit to my confidence that would not allow me, not allow me to keep on trying. So, just realizing that possibly I can do it. I wasn't being too lofty with my goals. It was the fact that I had not allowed myself that room. So the other thing that I wanted to touch on here was that I do in fact have some valuable contributions. My usual MO, or mode of operation, is to kind of sit back and listen to other people speak, and then silently form an opinion that maybe I'll share with people and maybe I won't, but I never have felt obligated to voice my opinions to people in really any situation. So what I kind of picked up on about myself throughout this semester was that during the discussions, I was obligated to share my opinion, and so obviously I did. And what came out of it was like, it was more satisfying than I had expected it to be, because mostly I think because of the feedback. So I really got into a couple of discussions, and I got a little bit passionate about some topics and thought about what I wanted to say that really accurately described how I felt about it, and I I think the feedback really reflected the thought that I put into it. There was a lot of good dialogue that came out of it, and so what this kind of said to me was that I maybe should feel obligated to share my opinion more often. Some of the things that people had commented was, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that before," or "This is something a little new or interesting." Like, "Thanks for your post." And this was a huge boost of confidence for me, because I don't often share my opinion enough, or I don't often enough share my opinion to get feedback like that. So it was quite reassuring to see that I had something real and valid to contribute to this conversation, and likely to more things in my life than just online forums. So I think, like, this does not apply just to this course, but rather, the rest of my life, and in fact in any job I might have where I could have a valid opinion on where or how a task should be completed, or really literally any situation that I could offer an opinion on. I maybe should, because I do in fact have the potential to contribute fully. And so that wraps up at that point. The last thing that I want to talk about here is that I do have what it takes, I think, and I kind of realized that through a couple of the modules, I think. So, coming into the course in first year, it can be slightly overwhelming, a little academically overwhelming, and it's hard to have the vision to see where you're going to end up at the end of this and how capable you're going to be as a trainer. So I think a lot of the time, probably not just myself, people may have doubts about what they're capable of and what they have to offer a client. So I think what mostly spoke to me was the servant leadership module, and I think specifically the article by Isabel O. Lopez. Pardon me if I've said that wrong. I think she talked about many things that I found applied to myself and that I could relate to, and would clearly apply to being a personal trainer. So I as I read this article and connected with certain things, it became more obvious to me that I am potentially going to be a good trainer, and that was another very valid thing that I learned about myself, is that I should have the confidence to know that I am capable of leading people, and I am capable of, the word I'm looking for is being empathetic toward other people. And because this job is based around helping other people, having a good servant leadership base is certainly a plus. So that pretty much wraps up what I learned in this course. I think that these will be extremely valuable lessons when I'm taking it into the real world, and not just when I'm training clients, but in the rest of my life. So thank you for listening. That concludes my presentation.